The focus of our study is all about the Bible meaning of soul. And this study is taken from the book of George Knight, the Seventh-day Adventist Answer Questions on Doctrine. In the Old Testament, the word soul is translated from nephes, a Hebrew word that occurs 755 times in the Old Testament. It is most frequently translated soul, but it is also translated in many other ways. Nephes comes from the root word nafas, a verb occurring only 3 times in the Old Testament, as stated in Exodus chapter 23, verse 12, and Exodus chapter 31, verse 17, as well on 2 Samuel chapter 16, verse 14. Each time meaning to revive oneself or to refresh oneself. And the verb seems to go back to the basic meaning of breathing. A divination for nephesh may be derived from the Bible account of creation of man as found in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. The record states that when God gave life to the body he had formed, the man literally became a soul of life. The soul had not previously existed, but came into existence at the creation of Adam. A new soul comes into existence every time a child is born. And each birth represents a new unit of life, uniquely different and separate from similar units. The new units can never merge into another unit, and it will always be itself. There may be countless individuals like it, but none that is exactly that unit. This uniqueness of individuality seems to be the idea of being emphasized, or idea that is emphasized in the Hebrew term nephes. And nephes is applied not only to men but to animals. The clause, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures that had life in Genesis chapter 1, verse 20 is literally, let the waters swarm, swarms of souls of life. Hence, animals as well as human beings are soul. Now, this basic idea of soul being the individual rather than a constituent part of the individual seems to underlie the various occurrences of nephesh. And it is therefore more accurate to say that a certain person is a soul than to say he has a soul. And this is clearly expressed in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. Man became a living soul. Now, from the basic idea of a nephesh being an individual or a person, springs the idiomatic use of nephesh for the personal pronouns, and expressions such as my soul are idiomatic for I, me, thy soul, for you, their soul, for thee or them. Since each new nephesh represents a new unit of life, nephesh is often used synonymously with life. In 119 instances, the King James Version translates nephesh by life, and There are other instances where life would have been a more accurate translation. The majority of the occurrences of nephes may be appropriately translated by person, individual, life, or by the appropriate personal pronoun. The souls that they had gotten in Haran, as stated in Genesis chapter 12, verse 5, is simply the persons that they had gotten in Haran. The soul shall be cut off is simply he shall be cut off. So when we turn to the New Testament, we find that the word soul is translated from the Greek word suki or sochi, with the meanings life, breath, or soul. Now, suki is translated 40 times in the New Testament, or as life or lives, clearly with the meaning commonly attributed to the word life. For example, Matthew chapter 2, verse 20, Matthew chapter 6, verse 25, and Matthew chapter 16, verse 25. And it is rendered 58 times as soul or souls. In Matthew chapter 10, verse 28, 11, verse 29, and Matthew chapter 12, verse 18. In some of these instances, it means simply people. You can find it in Acts chapter 7, verse 14, and Acts chapter 27, verse 37. You can find this as well on the book of 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 20. In other instances, it is also translated as or equivalent to some personal pronoun. For example, Matthew chapter 12, verse 18, and 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 15. And at times, it refers to the emotions. Mark chapter 14, verse 34. To the natural appetites. Revelation chapter 18, verse 14. To the mind. Acts chapter 12, verse 2. Or to the heart. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 6. There is nothing in the word suki itself that even remotely implies a conscious entity that is able to survive the death of the body. And there is nothing in the Bible used of the word indicating that the Bible writers held any such belief. And we fully concur with the following paragraphs from a well-known British scholar. It's Willa Robinson, a former principal of Regent's Park College, and it is found in his book, Hebrew Psychology. He states, Nephes is not at all adequately rendered by soul. Literally, usage shows that there are three more or less distinct meanings covered by the word. The first group relates to the principle of life without any emphasis on what we should call its physical side. Thus, the Israelite captain, threatened with destructions, says to Elijah, let my nephes and the nephes, referring to life, of this 50, thy servant, be precious in thy sight. 2 Kings chapter 1, verse 13. Here, the proper rendering is life. And in the Revised Version, though in Jeremiah chapter 38, verse 16, the King James Version has, as the Lord liveth, that made us the soul, where life should be rendered. This remains a second group of usages. the only one that can be called physical in the proper sense. Though for the Hebrew, physical includes much that we should call physiological. They simply do not distinguish the two. In this group, nephesh denotes the human consciousness in its full extent, as in Job chapter 16, verse 4. I also speak like you. If your nephesh were instead of my nephesh. There is no reason to doubt that the primary meaning of nephesh was breath, like that of the Arabic napson, soul, nafason, breath, though there is but one instance in the Old Testament in which breath is the natural rendering. It is found in Job chapter 41, verses 19 to 21. Now, if then we ask the question, what is man? And try to answer it, not in the old theological, but in the new physiological fashion, we shall see that for the Hebrew, man is a unity, and that unity in a body is a complex of parts, drawing their life and activity from a breath soul which has no existence apart from the body. Now, the Hebrew had never thought of a disembodied soul, as quoted by Methodist leader Arthur is Pate in the book of The People and the Book. Now, in harmony with the foregoing, let me conclude. We, as Adventists, believe that in general, the scripture teaches that the soul of man represents the whole man and not a particular part independent of the other component parts of man's nature. And further, that the soul cannot exist apart from the body, for man is a unit.